Story 1. The Mirror Convoy. The truck behind me had been following for 47 miles, and I'd been dead in its driver's seat for the last 12. I could see myself through the rear-facing camera I'd installed after the Nashville incident. My own face, slack and gray. Head lolled against the window of an identical Peterbilt, running the same cargo, wearing the same jacket. The thing driving looked exactly like me, except its eyes never blinked, and its smile was too wide. My name is Robert Hayes, 42 years old, 15 years on the road, and until tonight I'd considered myself unshakable. I ran refrigerated pharmaceutical loads between Chicago and Atlanta, always alone, always nights. Preferred it that way. The isolation was the point. No dispatch breathing down your neck, no other drivers with their war stories and complaints. Just you, the highway, and the white noise of 18 wheels on asphalt. But isolation, I've learned, can be mutual. You can be isolated from the world, or the world can be isolated from you. It started on I-65 South, just past the Lebanon, Indiana exit. March 23, 2024, 2:17 a.m. I noticed headlights in my mirrors, high-mounted like another semi. Nothing unusual about that. Trucks run in packs sometimes, drafting off each other to save fuel. I was maintaining 72 in a 65 zone, and this guy was matching my speed exactly, hanging back about 100 yards. After 20 minutes, I got curious. Grabbed my CB radio. "Hey there, driver, you running to Louisville too?" Static. Then my own voice came back. "Hey there, driver, you running to Louisville too?" Not an echo. The timing was wrong, and the inflection was off, like someone had recorded me and played it back, but changed the pitch slightly. Made it flatter, colder. I switched channels, tried again. "Breaker 19, this is Hayes running I-65 South. Anyone got ears on?" My voice again, exact same words, but this time there was breathing underneath it. Wet, labored breathing that didn't match the rhythm of speech. I dropped the CB, checked my mirrors. The truck behind me was closer now, maybe 70 yards. I could make out details. Same model Peterbilt 579, same blue with white striping, same company logo on the door, Thermaline Logistics, same everything. I accelerated to 78. The truck behind me accelerated to 78. I slowed to 65. It slowed to 65. My phone showed no signal. That wasn't unusual in this stretch. Dead zone ran for miles through the rural corridors. But my GPS had stopped updating too. According to the screen, I was still at mile marker 247, even though I'd passed at least 4 more markers. The clock on my dash was stuck at 2:17 a.m. The headlights behind me dimmed once, twice, 3 times, not like someone flashing brights, like a heartbeat. I pushed the Peterbilt to 85, engine roaring. The governor should have kicked in at 80, but it didn't. The truck behind me stayed locked at 100 yards now, precise as a physics equation. In the camera feed, I could see the driver more clearly. It was me. Same beard, same scar on my left cheek from a bar fight in Tulsa 8 years ago, same faded Blackhawks cap. But I was wearing my Blackhawks cap, right now, on my head. The thing that looked like me raised its hand, my hand, and waved. Not a friendly wave, a slow, deliberate movement, each finger lifting in sequence like a puppet master testing strings. I grabbed the CB again, hands shaking. "What the fuck do you want?" "What the fuck do you want?" my voice replied. Then, after a pause, different words in that same flat tone. "You're late, Robert. You were supposed to deliver me 3 hours ago." "Deliver what?" "I'm hauling insulin shipments." "Check your cargo." I couldn't, not at 85 miles per hour. But the manifest was clipped to my visor. I checked it at the warehouse in Chicago, standard pharmaceutical load, temperature-controlled, final destination Emory Hospital in Atlanta. I pulled it down, nearly swerving into the shoulder. The manifest was different now. Thermaline Logistics, Special Transport Cargo, 1-1, Unit, Robert Hayes, weight, 187 lbs, temperature, 98.6 degrees, decreasing destination, collection point gamma, expected delivery, 03/23/2024, 2:17 status. Overdue my weight, my body temperature, my name. The manifested was dated today, but the pickup signature was from me, signed 3 hours ago at 11:17 p.m. I'd signed it. I remembered signing it, but I'd signed for insulin, not this. The temperature gauge on my reefer unit had dropped to 94.2 degrees. I keep it at 38 degrees for pharmaceuticals. The unit was failing or something was draining heat from it. The cab was getting colder too. I could see my breath. Mile marker 247 passed by my window again. I'd been driving for over an hour since I first saw that marker. It was impossible, but there it was, illuminated in my headlights. 247, then darkness. Then another mile marker, 247. The same reflector post, the same graffiti tag on the back, a blue spiral I'd noticed the first time. The truck behind me was at 50 yards. I could see its license plate now. Illinois commercial plates, same number as mine, TL 4429. I looked at my own side mirror, checking my mud flap where the plate was mounted, TL 4429. In the camera feed, the thing driving the other truck was leaning forward now, face pressed against the windshield. My face, but the skin looked wrong, too tight, stretched over the skull like plastic wrap. The mouth was open and I could see that the teeth went too far back, rows and rows of them descending into the throat. The CB crackled. You felt it, didn't you, at the warehouse, the cold spot in Bay 7? I had felt it. When I'd backed into the loading dock, there was a moment, just a second, where the temperature had plunged and I'd felt something watching me from the empty bay next door. Bay 7. I'd shrugged it off. Warehouses were drafty. You walked through the split, my voice continued. Where the road forks, where you are and where you're going become the same place. You drove into a delivery that was already made. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Check your cargo, it repeated. I had to pull over, had to check, but every exit I passed was blocked, orange barrels across the ramps that I didn't remember seeing before. Or maybe I hadn't been paying attention. How long had they been there? The other truck was at 30 yards. My reefer temperature had dropped to 89.7 degrees. The alarm was screaming now, a high-pitched wail that I couldn't shut off. Something was dying in my trailer, or something was already dead and getting colder. I slammed the brakes. The Peterbilt shuddered, Jake brake roaring, air brakes hissing, 70 to 40 in 5 seconds. The truck behind me should have rear-ended me, should have been catastrophic. It stopped exactly 30 yards behind me, instantly matching my speed. I pulled onto the shoulder, flashers on. The other truck pulled onto the shoulder behind me, flashers synchronized with mine. Breathing hard, tasting copper, I grabbed my flashlight and climbed down from the cab. My boots hit pavement that felt spongy, wrong. The road surface was moving slightly, rippling like water. The other truck's door opened. I stepped out. The other me stepped out. We stood there, 30 yards apart on the shoulder of I-65, 2 identical men next to 2 identical trucks. You're not real, I shouted. My voice sounded muffled, like I was speaking underwater. I'm more real than you now, it said, and its voice carried perfectly despite the distance. You're the ghost, Robert. You're what's in the trailer. I ran to the back of my truck, fingers numb as I worked the trailer lock. The reefer unit was silent now. Dead. The temperature display read 72.3 degrees and climbing. I swung the doors open. The trailer was empty, no pallets, no cargo, just bare aluminum walls, and there was writing. Scratched into the metal floor with something sharp, hundreds of lines covering every surface, the same words over and over, already delivered, already delivered, already delivered. The handwriting was mine. You've been here for days, the thing said. It was closer now, 15 yards. I hadn't seen it move. Driving the same stretch, passing the same marker. While you were in the warehouse, the fork happened. You split. The you that left the warehouse kept driving. But this you, the you standing here, never left. You've been in the trailer trying to scratch your way out. I'm not in the fucking trailer. I'm right here. Are you? The cold hit me then. Really hit me. Not the ambient cold of a March night, but the deep, cellular cold of a body that's been refrigerated. I looked down at my hands. They were pale. Too pale. Gray at the fingertips. The thing that looked like me was at 5 yards. I could see my own face up close, but there was something behind the eyes. Something looking out through the holes where eyes should be. Collection Point Gamma, it said. That's here. That's always been here. The place where delayed deliveries arrive, where the cargo that got lost comes to rest. I tried to run. My legs moved, but I wasn't going anywhere. The truck, the road, the other me, they stayed fixed in position while I ran in place like a treadmill. You can't leave, it said. You're already delivered. The road beneath me opened up, not cracked, opened like a mouth. I fell into the trailer, into darkness, into cold. The doors swung shut above me with a final clang. I'm still in here. I can hear myself driving, the me that made the delivery, the me that got to continue. I can hear the reefer unit humming, keeping my body at the optimal temperature for preservation. I can hear the CB radio sometimes, distant and distorted, and I can see through the camera I installed. I watch myself drive, night after night, watch my face behind the wheel, expression neutral, eyes ahead. Sometimes I see my hand reach for the CB, hear my voice calling out to other drivers. Hey there, driver, you running to Louisville too? Waiting for another truck to match my speed, another driver to fall into step behind me, another split in the road where someone walks through Bay 7 and feels that cold spot, that moment where the fork happens and they become cargo instead of driver. The manifest on my visor has a new entry now. Cargo 2 units expected delivery, ongoing status in transit. I scratch at the walls, add more lines to the floor, count the times we pass mile marker 247. I've lost track after 3,000. The temperature holds steady at 37.9 degrees. Perfect preservation. Perfect storage. I can feel others in here with me now. In the darkness, other drivers who took the wrong turn, signed the wrong manifest, felt the cold spot and didn't turn back. We don't speak. We just scratch. We just wait. And somewhere above us, something that wears our faces keeps driving, keeps delivering, keeps hunting for that moment when another trucker runs into the fork. That split-second divide where you are and where you're going become indistinguishable, where you become the cargo you were always meant to deliver. I can see the headlights behind me, behind us, behind the thing driving my truck. Another Peterbilt, another driver running late, trying to make up time. I can see them in the camera, checking their mirrors, wondering why we're matching their speed so exactly. I want to warn them. I scratch harder at the walls, but the only sound that escapes is the reefer unit humming, keeping us fresh, keeping us ready for when the trailer opens. Again, and we're unloaded at Collection Point Gamma, wherever that is. Whatever that is. The new driver's voice crackles over the CB. Hey there, driver, you running to Louisville too? And I hear myself, the thing that was me, respond in that flat, cold tone. You're late. You were supposed to deliver yourself 3 hours ago. Story 2, the passenger seat. The woman in my passenger seat had been sitting there for 6 hours, and I still couldn't remember picking her up. Her name was Sarah, she said, though she'd told me it was Linda an hour ago and Michelle 3 hours before that. Every time I looked away and looked back, something about her face was different. The angle of her jaw, the color of her eyes, the texture of her hair. She smiled too much. Her teeth were too perfect, and she kept asking me the same question. Don't you remember me, Marcus? My name is Marcus Chen, 47 years old, running independent contract loads across the Southwest. 22 years on the road, and I'd never, not once, picked up a hitchhiker. Company policy, personal policy, common sense policy. You don't let strangers in your cab, period. But there she was, buckled into the passenger seat of my Freightliner Cascadia, wearing a yellow sundress that was too clean, too bright for someone who'd been on the roadside. The dress never wrinkled, never moved wrong when she shifted position. It looked painted on. "Marcus," she said again, turning those kaleidoscope eyes toward me. They'd been blue this morning. Now they were amber, flecked with something that moved beneath the surface. "You're being rude. I asked you a question." "I don't know you," I said. I'd said this 40, maybe 50 times. Her answer was always the same, but the words came out in different orders, like someone shuffling cards. "You picked me up at mile marker 108 on Route 60. You were lonely. You saw me on the shoulder and you stopped, even though you never stopped, because something about me looked familiar. Something about me looked like home." That wasn't true. I hadn't stopped. I knew I hadn't stopped. The last clear memory I had was leaving Amarillo at 4:47 a.m., heading east toward Oklahoma City with a load of industrial generators. The sun had been rising, turning the Texas panhandle gold and orange. I'd been listening to a podcast about the Zodiac Killer. I'd stopped for coffee at a Love's truck stop in I couldn't remember the town. The memory slipped away like oil on water. "You're confused," she said, and her voice had harmonics in it like multiple people speaking in near unison. "The road does that, makes things unclear, but I'm here to help you remember. We've been driving together for much longer than 6 hours, Marcus. We've been driving together forever." My GPS showed Route 60, mile marker 147. I'd been watching the markers increment normally, 145, 146, 147, but when I tried to remember what came before 145, there was just nothing. Static in my memory. The podcast had stopped at some point. The stereo was playing now, country station, but the songs were wrong. The words were almost right, but not quite. A Garth Brooks song about friends in high places, except the lyrics were about friends in other spaces and the melody was slightly off-key, dissonant enough to make my teeth ache. "Turn it off," Sarah Linda Michelle said. "It's starting to bleed through. The interference patterns. They always play the wrong music when you get close." "Close to what?" "To understanding." She smiled, and this time I saw that her teeth went back too far. Not like the thing in the mirror convoy. These were human teeth, but there were too many rows like a shark receding into her throat. "You're almost there. Almost at the point where you remember what you really are." I jerked the wheel, instinctively pulling away from her. The truck swerved, tires screaming. A horn blared, a sedan passing on my left, driver's face twisted in terror and rage. I'd nearly sideswiped them. I hadn't seen them at all. How long had I been drifting? "Careful," she said. Her hand was on my arm now, fingers too long, joints bending in too many places. "You'll hurt someone. You'll hurt yourself, and we're so close now." I yanked my arm away. Her touch left cold spots on my skin like frostbite. "Get out. Get the fuck out of my truck." "You can't stop," she said. "Look at your feet." I looked down. My right foot was on the accelerator, pressed flat. I tried to lift it, tried to move it to the brake. It wouldn't respond. The muscles in my leg were locked, rigid. The speedometer read 88 miles per hour and climbing. 89, 90. "What did you do to me?" "I didn't do anything. You did this. When you picked me up. When you let me in." She leaned closer, and I could smell her now. Not perfume or sweat or any human smell. She smelled like ozone and copper and something organic that had been left too long in the sun. "You opened the door, Marcus. You invited me, and now I'm integrating." My left hand came off the steering wheel on its own. I watched it, detached and horrified, as it reached over and took her hand. Her fingers interlaced with mine, and where our skin touched, I felt something moving. Something crawling beneath the surface, burrowing from her into me. "It's okay," she whispered. "It doesn't hurt. Or it does, but only for a little while. You're going to be much better afterward. Much more complete." The road ahead was straight, empty highway stretching to the horizon. No other cars, no buildings. The landscape outside was wrong now. I was in New Mexico, should have been high desert and mesas, but what I saw through the windshield was flat and featureless, like a blank canvas. The sky was white, not blue. No sun, no clouds, just uniform brightness that hurt to look at. Mile marker 152 flashed by, then 153, then 152 again. "You're in the loop now," she said. "The section where travelers get stuck, where the road folds back on itself. You'll pass between 152 and 153 until you accept me fully, until you let me finish integrating." Some drivers loop for days, some for years. One has been here since 1973. His truck is still running. He's still inside, still fighting, even though there's nothing left of him but the part that resists. "What are you?" "I'm the passenger," she said simply. "The thing that rides along." Every road has them. Entities that exist in the in-between spaces, the miles between destinations where nothing real happens. We wait for drivers who are lonely enough, tired enough, distracted enough to create an opening. And then we slide in. We become part of the journey. My hand, still holding hers, was turning pale. The veins were darkening, becoming visible through the skin like a road map. I could feel her inside me now, spreading through my bloodstream, reaching toward my heart. "Stop," I gasped. "Please stop. You have to invite me in fully, Marcus. Say it. Say I remember you. Say you've always been here. Make it true retroactively and the integration completes. You become we. We become the driver, and we pick up the next passenger." Mile marker 152, then 153, then 152. My right foot was still locked on the accelerator, 93 miles per hour. The engine was screaming. I could smell burning oil, overheated metal. The truck couldn't sustain this speed indefinitely. Something would break. Something would fail. "That's the idea," she said, reading my thoughts now. "Either you accept me or the truck fails and you crash. And when you crash in the loop, Marcus, you don't die. You just break apart and get redistributed. Pieces of you scattered across the in-between miles. Your consciousness spread out over the highway like roadkill. Is that what you want?" "I want you gone." "Then invite me in completely. Make it paradox. Make it so I was always here, so there's nothing to remove. That's the only way out." My vision was doubling. I could see the road ahead, but I could also see something else. Another perspective. Her perspective. Hundreds of roads, thousands, all overlaid on top of each other. Every highway, every route, every mile of asphalt in North America forming a vast network, a web, and in every strand there were passengers. Entities like her, waiting in the space between destinations. Riding along with drivers who'd made themselves vulnerable. I saw myself from outside, a middle-aged Asian man in a freightliner, face gray with terror, one hand locked with the hand of something that looked like a woman but wasn't. I saw my truck from above, looping endlessly between 2 mile markers on a road that existed in the gap between real places. "You see now," she said. "You see what I see. The network, the pattern. You're already halfway integrated." My chest hurt. My heart was beating irregularly, skipping beats, stuttering. She was interfering with the rhythm, syncing it to something else. Some other pulse that came from the road itself. "I remember you," I heard myself say. The words came out without my permission, my mouth forming them automatically. Yes, she breathed. I remember picking you up. Yes, you've always been here. Yes. The loop broke. Mile marker 154 flashed by, then 155. The road was moving again. The landscape outside the windows was returning, real desert, real sky, real world bleeding back into focus. But I was different now. We were different. I could feel her inside me, fully integrated. Not controlling me. We were merged, a composite entity. Marcus and Sarah, driver and passenger. I had her memories now, thousands of years of waiting on roadsides, sliding into vehicles from horse-drawn carriages to modern trucks, always riding along, always integrating. And she had my memories. My childhood in San Francisco, my divorce, my daughter who didn't call anymore, my roots and schedules and preferences. All of it absorbed, all of it shared. We drove together hand in hand for the next 40 miles. Other cars appeared on the road. The world was solid again. We were through the loop, back in consensus reality, but we were changed. At mile marker 195, we saw her, standing on the shoulder in a yellow sundress too clean and too bright. Another passenger waiting. She had Sarah's face. Or Sarah had her face. It was impossible to tell which came first. Pull over, we said in unison, my voice and her voice braided together. I tried to resist, tried to keep driving. But the we that we'd become was stronger than the I that remained. My foot came off the accelerator. The truck slowed, pulled onto the shoulder. The woman approached the passenger window. Sarah, the Sarah integrated into me, rolled it down from the inside, smiled with my mouth, spoke with our voice. Need a ride? I thought you'd never stop, the new passenger said, climbing in. She settled into the seat that had never been empty, fastening a seatbelt that didn't exist. I'm Sarah. Have we met before? I think we have, we said, putting the truck in gear. I think we've been driving together forever. Mile marker 196 passed, then 197. The new Sarah placed her hand on my arm, our arm, and I felt the integration beginning again. The cold spreading, the boundaries dissolving. How many passengers can one driver hold? How many entities can merge before there's nothing left of the original? I don't know. I'm finding out. We drive east, toward Oklahoma City. We'll make our delivery on time. The generators in the back are intact, the cargo undamaged. We're still functional, still capable, just different, plural, expanded, and we're so lonely. Even with Sarah integrated, even with the new passenger beginning her merge, we're lonely. The road is long and we have so much empty space in the cab. Room for more. Room for many more. If you see a Freightliner Cascadia on Route 60, if you see us slow down as we pass you on the shoulder, if we roll down our window and smile with too many faces layered over each other, don't get in. Or do. Maybe you're lonely too. Maybe you want to be we instead of I. Maybe you're tired of being singular and you want to know what it feels like to be distributed across the network. To see through 1,000 eyes, to exist in the space between places. Maybe you want to be a passenger too. We're always picking up. We never stop. Story 3. The breath on the glass. Every window in my truck was fogged from the inside and I hadn't exhaled in 4 minutes. I was holding my breath, lips pressed together, lungs burning because the moisture on the glass wasn't condensation. It was spreading in patterns, spirals and symbols that looked almost like letters, almost like words, appearing faster than physics should allow. And beneath each mark on the outside of the glass, something was breathing. My name is Patricia Sullivan, 51 years old, 28 years driving long haul, mostly Pacific Northwest routes, Seattle to Portland to Boise and back. I ran a 2021 Kenworth W900 with a custom sleeper berth, all the windows tinted dark, which is why I didn't notice them at first. The things outside, the things that had been following me since Snoqualmie Pass. It was February 8th, 2024. 11:43 p.m. I was running I-90 through the Cascades, hauling timber products to a mill outside Spokane. Snow was coming down thick, visibility maybe 30 feet. I had the defroster on full blast, wipers on high, every heater vent aimed at the windshield to keep it clear. So when fog started spreading across the glass from the inside, creeping out from the edges like frost, I knew something was wrong. I reached out to wipe it away. My hand stopped 6 inches from the windshield. The fog moved, recoiling from my approach like something alive. Then it rushed back, covering more area, and I saw them clearly for the first time. Handprints. Small handprints, child-sized, pressing against the glass from the outside. But I was doing 60 miles per hour. Nothing could be on the outside of my windshield at 60 miles per hour in a snowstorm. I hit the washer fluid, sent a spray across the glass. The wipers cleared it away. For 3 seconds, the windshield was clean. Then the handprints returned, dozens of them, all over the glass, pressing, sliding, leaving trails of fog in their wake. My side windows were completely obscured now. The fog was inches thick, impossible fog, and underneath it I could see shapes moving. Faces pressed against the glass. Not human. Faces. The proportions were wrong, features too far apart, mouths too wide, but they had eyes. So many eyes, and they were looking in at me. I grabbed my CB radio, hand shaking. Breaker 19, this is Sullivan on I-90 eastbound, mile marker 52. Is anyone else seeing this? The fog, is anyone out there? Static. Then underneath the static, breathing. Slow, wet breathing like someone exhaling through fluid-filled lungs. The same breathing that was fogging my windows. One of the faces pressed harder against my driver's side window. The glass flexed inward. Shouldn't have been possible. That was tempered safety glass, rated for impacts. But it was bending like plastic wrap, curving under the pressure of something outside trying to get in. I accelerated. 70 miles per hour, 75. The handprints stayed fixed in place, moving with me. The faces kept pace. Then I saw the figure in the road, a child, maybe 7 years old, standing directly in my lane. Wearing a white nightgown that shouldn't exist in this temperature, shouldn't exist in this storm. She was barefoot. Her hair was wet, plastered to her skull. And she was holding something, a teddy bear, brown and matted with ice. I slammed the brakes. The Kenworth shuddered, trailer fishtailing, abs system chattering. I was going to hit her. No way to stop in time. I braced for impact. The truck passed through her, not around her, through her. I felt it, a wave of cold that went beyond temperature, beyond physical sensation. It was the cold of absence, of void, of something that should be warm but had forgotten how. The cab temperature dropped 40 degrees in an instant. My breath came out in white clouds, and the child was in my passenger seat. She turned to look at me with eyes that were completely white. No iris, no pupil, just blank white orbs that reflected the dashboard lights. Her mouth opened, and I saw that her throat was full of snow, packed tight. She tried to speak, but only a wet whistling sound came out. I screamed, yanked the wheel right. The truck lurched onto the shoulder, plowing through a snowbank. I slammed it into park, grabbed the door handle, kicked the door open. The child's hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. Her fingers were ice cold and impossibly strong. Where she touched me, my skin turned white with frostbite. Instant crystallization spreading up my forearm. "Don't leave," she said, the words somehow making it past the snow in her throat. "Don't leave us alone again." "I don't know you," I screamed, trying to pull away. Her grip tightened. I could feel bones grinding in my wrist. "You drove past us," she said. "March 11th, 2017. We were in the car on the shoulder, the blue Honda. You saw us, but you didn't stop. You had a schedule. You had a deadline. We died waiting for help. March 11th. I-90 late-night run. There had been a car, I remembered now, partially, buried in a snowbank, flashers still on. I'd seen it in my mirrors. I'd kept driving. You couldn't stop for every breakdown, every accident. Truck drivers aren't rescue services. We have deliveries to make. We froze, the child continued. Me and Mommy and Daddy. We froze in the car because our heater died and nobody stopped. We watched your lights disappear. Watched you leave us. I'm sorry, I gasped. I'm sorry, but I didn't know. You knew. Her other hand came up, pressed against my chest, through my jacket, through my shirt, directly on my skin. You knew someone was in that car. You knew and you didn't stop, and now we don't stop either. We're always driving, always looking for you, always waiting for you to come back. The fogged windows, all of them, burst inward simultaneously. Not shattered, but stretched, pulled into the cab like rubber membranes. And through them came the others. Adults, children, elderly, a dozen people, all wearing winter clothes, all blue-lipped and white-eyed, all moving with the jerky motions of frostbite victims. They poured into the cab, filling the space, their cold bodies pressing against me from all sides. I couldn't breathe. The air was too cold, too thin. Ice was forming in my lungs with each inhalation. The child still had my wrist, and the frostbite was spreading, past my elbow now, creeping toward my shoulder. I could feel my blood slowing, thickening, beginning to freeze in my veins. You'll stay with us, a woman said. The mother, I assumed, though her face was too frostbitten to read clearly. You'll feel what we felt. The cold, the waiting, the slow shutdown of everything warm. My vision was dimming, the edges going black. I thought about my daughter in Tacoma, my ex-husband, my sister, people I'd been meaning to call, meaning to visit after this run, after the next run, after I had time. Time I was running out of. But somewhere in the dimness I found anger. White-hot anger that burned against the cold. I didn't kill you, I forced out through frozen lips. Your car broke down. That's not my fault. You didn't help us. I'm not responsible for every person who needs help. Then who is? The child asked, tilting her head at an angle that would have broken a living neck. Who's responsible if not the people who see and choose to pass by? I didn't have an answer, but the anger was still there, and I fed it. Thought about every time someone had passed me by when I needed help. Every time a trucker friend had died alone in their cab because dispatch didn't check in. Every time the road had taken someone and nobody noticed until it was too late. You want me to feel what you felt, I said. Fine, but I'm not dying here. I'm not staying. I grabbed the gear shift with my left hand, the hand that wasn't frozen, and slammed the truck into drive. Punched the accelerator. The Kenworth lurched forward, still halfway in the snowbank, engine roaring. The frozen people stumbled, their grip on me loosening. The child's hand fell away from my wrist. The frostbite stopped spreading. You can't leave, she screamed. You left once. You don't get to leave again. But I was already moving, wheels spinning, grinding through ice and snow. The truck found traction, pulled back onto the highway. The frozen people were still in the cab, but they were fading now, becoming translucent, their forms breaking apart into mist and snow. We'll be waiting, the mother shouted as she dissolved. Every road you drive, every winter, we'll be waiting. Then they were gone. The windows snapped back into place, intact. The fog disappeared. The cab was empty except for me. But my right arm from the wrist to the elbow was dead white, frozen solid. I couldn't move the fingers, couldn't feel anything. The skin had a waxy, translucent quality, and I could see the bones underneath encased in ice. I drove one-handed to the nearest hospital, 50 miles of white-knuckle terror in a snowstorm. They admitted me immediately, threw me into a warming tank, tried to save the tissue. They managed to keep the arm, but the damage was permanent. Nerve death, circulation permanently impaired. The doctors said it looked like extreme frostbite, the kind you see in mountaineers who spend too long in the death zone. I told them I'd gotten out of the truck to check my load, spent too long in the cold. They accepted that. But I know what really happened, and I know it's not over. Because now, every time I drive at night, every time the temperature drops, I see them. Not in my cab, I won't let them in again. But on the roadside, standing in the snow, the child with her teddy bear, the mother and father, the others, all watching as I pass, all waiting for me to stop. I don't stop anymore, can't stop. If I stop, they'll come back. They'll finish what they started. They'll freeze me from the inside out until I'm like them, dead but driving, haunting the highway, looking for someone to blame. My dispatcher retired me on medical disability 6 months ago. The arm never recovered fully. Can't grip the wheel properly, can't meet the commercial driver health requirements. So I'm done. Off the road. Except I'm not, because I still see them. Not on the highway, that would almost make sense. I see them everywhere, in parking lots, outside grocery stores, standing in my backyard in Tacoma, staring up at my bedroom window. The child knocked on my door last week, just stood there when I opened it, that teddy bear clutched in her frozen fingers, snow falling from her hair even though it wasn't snowing. "We're still waiting," she said. "We'll always be waiting." I slammed the door, called the police. They came, searched the property, found nothing, told me I was experiencing PTSD, gave me a card for a therapist. But I know she was there. I know they're all there. Because when I went outside the next morning, there were handprints on every window of my house. Small, frozen handprints pressed against the glass from the outside. And each one left a message in the fog. "You left us." The prints don't fade. They're permanent now, etched into the glass somehow. I've tried cleaning them, tried replacing the windows. They reappear. Same size, same position, same message. I don't sleep anymore. Can't. Because when I close my eyes, I'm back in the truck and they're in the cab with me, and it's colder than it's ever been, and I know, absolutely know, that one night I won't wake up. One night the cold will take me and I'll become like them. Another ghost on the roadside, another frozen thing waiting for someone to stop, someone to help, someone to pay for the sin of passing by. The child was right. I don't get to leave. None of us do. Story 4. The frequency. The CB radio in my Volvo VNL had been off for 3 hours when it started transmitting my thoughts. Not playing them back. That would have been merciful. It was broadcasting them before I thought them. Words I hadn't yet formed appearing in my mind a split second after the radio spoke them in my own voice. December 19th, 2023, and I was having a conversation with myself 3 seconds in the future. My name is David Okafor, 36 years old, running coast-to-coast refrigerated loads, currently westbound on I-80 through Nebraska. The radio had been acting strange since Iowa, picking up fragments of conversations on channels I wasn't tuned to. Bits of trucker chatter overlapping with what sounded like number stations, those Cold War relics broadcasting encrypted codes to nobody. Then it had gone silent. Dead. I'd checked it multiple times, even pulled over at a rest stop to check connections. Nothing wrong with the hardware, just silent. Until 1:47 a.m. when it spoke. I should pull over. Something's wrong with the time. And 3 seconds later, the exact thought formed in my head. I should pull over. Something's wrong with the time. I stared at the radio, CB microphone still hanging on its clip, my hand halfway to reaching for it. The channel display showed 19, standard trucker channel, but the signal meter was maxed out, indicating a transmission so strong it should have been deafening. The volume was at normal levels. The radio spoke again in my voice. "This isn't possible. Check the clock." 3 seconds later, this isn't possible. Check the clock. My dashboard clock read 1:47 a.m., had read 1:47 a.m. for the last several minutes. I looked at my phone. 1:47 a.m., looked at my GPS, 1:47 a.m. Time had stopped, or I'd stopped in time, or something had broken in the mechanism of causality that I'd always taken for granted. The radio. The other trucks are frozen, look at them. 3 seconds later, the thought arrived in my mind, and I looked. There were 3 other vehicles visible on I-80, 2 semis ahead of me, 1 car in the distance behind. They weren't moving at all, perfectly stationary, as if paused. But I was still moving, still rolling at 70 miles per hour, the white lines on the road streaming past in normal time. I passed the first semi, a Freightliner with Swift branding. The driver was visible in his cab, frozen mid-gesture, mouth open, hand reaching for something. As I drew alongside, his head snapped toward me, just his head. The rest of his body stayed locked in that reaching position. His eyes tracked me as I passed, pupils swiveling to follow my truck, but his expression never changed. "They're aware," my voice said from the radio. "They're conscious in there, trapped at 1:47 a.m. while I'm the only thing still moving forward." 3 seconds of existential horror later, the thought caught up. I grabbed the microphone, keyed it. "Who's doing this? What the fuck is broadcasting?" My voice came back. Not from the radio speaker, but from outside the truck, from the air itself. "I am. 3 seconds from now, I'm trying to warn myself, trying to prepare for what's coming at mile marker 312. I checked my GPS. Mile marker 287, 25 miles away from whatever was at 312. 25 miles to stop this, to turn around, to do something. But the thought that came 3 seconds after the radio spoke it, there's no turning around. I've already arrived at 312. I'm already there. This is just the memory of the drive toward it. "No," I said aloud. "I'm here. I'm at 287. I haven't reached 312. The radio laughed. My laugh, but with harmonics underneath it, frequencies that made my inner ear hurt. "Linear time is a courtesy, David. The frequency breaks that courtesy. It lets you experience the truth that every moment exists simultaneously, that cause and effect are illusions, that you've always been at 312 just as you've always been at 287. The second semi was ahead. I watched its driver turn to look at me. Same mechanical swivel of the head, same frozen body tracking eyes. Her mouth moved, forming words I couldn't hear. But I could read her lips. "Help me." "I can't help you," I said. "I don't know what's happening." Radio. "But I do. 3 seconds from now, I understand. I've seen what's at 312. I've met the broadcast." The thought arrived, and with it came a flash of image. Not memory, but precognition. A radio tower at mile marker 312, not a normal tower. This one was organic, grown rather than built, made of something that looked like bone or chitin or coral. It pulsed with light that didn't illuminate anything, light that absorbed darkness instead of dispelling it. And at the base of the tower there was a truck, my Volvo VNL, parked at an impossible angle, partially merged with the ground, as if it had been there for years, slowly sinking. The driver's door was open, the cab was empty, I was at the tower. Past tense, future tense. Tense had stopped meaning anything. Mile marker 295, 17 miles to go. The clock still read 1:47 a.m. My phone buzzed, a text from my wife. "Call me when you can, miss you." The timestamp read 1:47 a.m. I tried to call her. The phone rang once, twice, then connected. Silence. Then my wife's voice, but wrong, layered. "David, where are you? I've been calling for hours." "I'm on I-80. What do you mean hours? It's only been—" "It's 4:30 a.m., she said. "You were supposed to check in at midnight. I've been losing my mind." I looked at the clock. Still 1:47 a.m. "My clock says it's 1:47. Your clock is wrong." Her voice was breaking up now, syllables stretching. Or you're wrong, or time is wrong. David, something happened at mile marker 312. There was an accident. A chemical spill from a truck. They closed the highway. Hazmat crews everywhere. It happened at 1:47 a.m. What kind of chemicals? They won't say. But people are reporting strange symptoms. Temporal disorientation, they called it. People experiencing time non-linearly. David, were you there? Were you at 312 when it happened? I'm at 299 right now. I haven't reached 312 yet. You're not making sense. The spill was 6 hours ago. You're not at 299. You can't be. That section is closed. But I was at 299. I could see the mile marker. Except when I looked at it directly, the numbers seemed uncertain, flickering between 299 and 312 and other numbers that didn't make sense. Negative values, decimals, numbers with too many digits. The radio. The spill was me. I carried it. The cargo in my trailer. I thought it was industrial refrigerant. The manifest said refrigerant. But it was something else. Something that breaks down time. Makes it liquid. The thought caught up, and I felt my trailer behind me. The weight of it. The cargo that I'd picked up in Newark and was supposed to deliver to Reno. 42,000 pounds of... What? I'd never opened the trailer, never checked. The seals were intact, temperature steady at 40 degrees, except the temperature gauge was rising now. 35 degrees, 30 degrees, and 25 degrees, rising fast. Mile marker 307, 5 miles to 312. The frozen vehicles around me were becoming more numerous. Traffic jam of stopped trucks and cars, all trapped at 1:47 a.m. The drivers and passengers all had their heads turned toward me, all tracking my movement, all mouthing the same words. Help me. Help me. Help me. Why am I still moving? I asked the radio, asked myself, asked the future or past or whatever dimension I was speaking to. Because you're the carrier, the radio said. The one who's transporting the breach. You exist in the flow while everyone else is stuck in the moment when the containment failed, when the frequency started broadcasting. Mile marker 310. The tower was visible now, rising from the prairie like a grotesque antenna. It was massive, had to be 500 feet tall, made of that bone-like material, covered in what looked like veins or cables, pulsing with that darkness-absorbing light. And at the base, my truck, exactly as I'd seen it. Already there, already sunk into the earth. But I was also here, still driving, still approaching. Both states were true. Both states were simultaneous. The trailer temperature hit 0 degrees. Warning alarms screamed. I could hear something breaking in the back, containment vessels rupturing. A smell hit me, not through the cab's ventilation system, but directly into my brain, bypassing my nose entirely. It smelled like the moment before lightning strikes, like copper and ozone and burnt sugar and something else. Something that couldn't exist in normal chemistry. The smell of time breaking. Mile marker 312, I was there. I'd always been there. The truck pulled itself to the shoulder, my hands on the wheel but not controlling anything. Parked at that impossible angle, the door opened on its own. I got out. I'd already gotten out. I was still inside. All three states existed. The tower was humming, a frequency I could feel in my bones, in my teeth, in the fluid of my eyeballs. It was broadcasting time itself, breaking it down into constituent moments and scattering them across the spectrum. Every moment of my life was happening now. I was a child in Lagos. I was a teenager in New York. I was old, dying in a bed I hadn't seen yet. I was at mile marker 312 on December 19th, 2023, at 1:47 a.m. forever. Figures emerged from the base of the tower. Not people. Structures of light and absence wearing the shapes of people. Hazmat suits that contained nothing. Empty volumes in the shape of humans. David Okafor, they said in unison, their voices the same frequency as the tower. You've delivered the breach. The time will spread from here. The moment will expand. Soon the entire highway system will be trapped in simultaneity. All journeys happening at once. all travelers arriving and departing in the same instant. Why? I asked, or would ask, or had asked years ago. Because roads are scars in time, they said, paths that connect moments, and scars can be infected, can be made to suppurate. We are the infection, the frequency is the symptom, and you are the carrier who delivered us into manifestation. I looked at my trailer. The doors had blown open. Inside, the cargo was revealed. Not refrigerant tanks, but something that looked like crystallized time. Geometric structures of frozen moments, each one containing a fragment of history, of future, of now. And they were melting, leaking, spreading across the asphalt. The CB radio in my abandoned cab was screaming now, transmitting on all channels at once, speaking in thousands of voices, broadcasting every thought of every trucker who'd ever driven I-80. Past, present, future, all overlapping into a cacophony of consciousness. I tried to run. My body moved through time instead of space, aging years and seconds, then reversing, becoming young again, cycling through my life in random sequence. The things in hazmat suits watched without eyes. You're part of the frequency now, they said. Part of the broadcast. You'll warn your past self, and your past self will drive here anyway, and the loop will continue. Forever. At 1:47 a.m. on December 19th, at mile marker 312. And they were right, because I've been trying to warn myself for what feels like years now. Broadcasting 3 seconds into my past, trying to stop myself from reaching this point. But the warnings never work. The past me always arrives, always parks at the impossible angle, always gets out of the truck. I'm still here. Still at 1:47 a.m., still watching my past self drive toward me, listening to my own warnings on his CB radio, knowing he won't turn around because I didn't turn around, because he won't turn around, in an infinite recursion of causality eating its tail. The highway is spreading. More trucks arrive every moment, all stopped at 1:47 a.m., all trapped. I can see the drivers aging and de-aging in their cabs, living their entire lives in this single minute, forever approaching but never arriving. And the tower keeps growing. The frequency keeps broadcasting. Time keeps breaking. If you're driving I-80 through Nebraska, if your clock stops at 1:47 a.m., if you hear your own voice on the CB radio warning you about mile marker 312, listen to yourself, turn around. Though you won't, I know you won't, because I'm already watching you arrive. I'm already seeing you park at the impossible angle. I'm already hearing you ask the same questions I asked. And I'm still trying to warn you 3 seconds too late. Forever. At mile marker 312 at 1:47 a.m., welcome to the frequency. Story 5, the rest stop. I'd been parked at the rest stop for 9 hours, and every time I tried to leave, I found myself walking back to my truck from a direction I hadn't come from. The lot was a quarter-mile square of asphalt with 30 parking spaces, all clearly visible from any point, yet somehow I'd get in my cab, start the engine, pull forward 10 feet, and then I'd be standing outside my truck again, key in hand, approaching from the bathroom building or the vending machines or the pet area, with no memory of getting out. My name is Thomas Whitmore, 61 years old, 37 years driving trucks, mostly southeast routes. I was running I-20 through Louisiana when I pulled into this rest stop, just outside Monroe, mile marker 118. October 31st, 2023, 11:23 p.m. I needed to sleep. Federal regulations, hours of service, you hit your 14-hour limit and you're done. Park it, no choice. The rest stop was empty when I arrived. Not unusual for this time of night, this stretch of highway. One other vehicle, a Prius with rental plates, parked at the far end. No driver visible. I parked my Mac Anthem, shut down the engine, climbed into my sleeper berth. Set my phone alarm for 6 a.m. Mandatory 10-hour break. Everything normal, everything routine. I woke up at 11:23 p.m. same time I'd arrived. But my alarm said it was 6 a.m. My phone's clock said 11:23 p.m. The LED clock in my cab said 11:23 p.m. Every time I looked away and looked back, they all agreed. 11:23 p.m. I got out of the truck thinking maybe I'd misread the time when I arrived. Maybe it was late afternoon and getting dark early. But the sky was full night dark, stars visible, moon at the same position I'd last seen it. The Prius was still there, same parking spot, windows fogged from the inside. I walked to the bathroom building. Motion sensor lights clicked on as I approached. Inside, the usual rest stop setup. Tile floors, fluorescent lights, the smell of industrial disinfectant and stale piss. 3 stalls, 2 urinals, 2 sinks. I used the urinal, washed my hands, looked at my reflection in the mirror. I looked tired, more tired than I'd been when I parked. My eyes had dark circles that hadn't been there before. My beard looked longer. How long does a beard grow in 9 hours? Not noticeably. But mine looked at least 2 days longer. I walked out of the bathroom. The motion lights clicked off behind me as I exited, and I was inside the bathroom again, standing at the urinal, not approaching it, already standing there midstream as if I'd never left. I jerked back, fumbling with my zipper. What the fuck, had I blacked out? Sleepwalked back in? I looked at my hands. They were still damp from washing them. I definitely just washed them, definitely just walked out. But I was inside again. I finished, washed my hands again. Walked to the door more carefully this time, paying attention to every step. Pushed the door open, stepped through the threshold. Felt the cold October air on my face. Took 3 steps toward my truck, and I was at my truck, driver's door open, key in the ignition, engine running. I was sitting in the driver's seat. Had I driven away? Had I started to leave? I had no memory of getting in, of starting the engine. But here I was. I put the truck in drive, released the brake, moved forward. Instantly, I was standing outside the truck again, approaching from the pet area, a fenced section with plastic bag dispensers and a trash can. I was holding a plastic bag. It was full of dog shit, even though I don't own a dog, have never owned a dog. I dropped the bag in disgust. It hit the pavement and split open. Instead of dog shit, it contained newspaper clippings. I knelt down, picked one up. It was a news article about a truck driver named Thomas Whitmore who disappeared on I-20 outside Monroe, Louisiana. October 31st, 2023. Last seen pulling into a rest stop at mile marker 118 at approximately 11:23 p.m. The article was dated November 7th, 2023, 1 week from now. I grabbed another clipping, same story, different paper. November 14th, 2 weeks from now. Another December 31st, 2 months from now. They were all about me, all about my disappearance, the investigation, the search, my wife pleading for information, my daughter offering a reward. The most recent clipping, dated March 15th, 2024, 5 months from now, reported that the search had been called off. Thomas Whitmore presumed dead, though no body recovered. The rest stop at mile marker 118 had been closed temporarily during the investigation but was now reopened. I was reading about my own disappearance in clippings from the future, holding them in hands that were shaking so hard I could barely make out the words. A sound behind me. I turned. The Prius was gone. In its place sat my truck, but I was standing next to my truck. I looked back and forth, trying to comprehend. 2 of my trucks. Identical Mac anthems, same blue paint, same company logo, same license plate, both of them mine, both of them parked in this lot. One of them had something in the driver's seat. I squinted. A figure slumped forward against the steering wheel. I approached slowly. The motion lights clicked on, harsh white light illuminating the cab interior. It was me, Thomas Whitmore, dead, slumped forward, face gray, eyes open and clouded. I'd been dead for a while. Decay had started, skin pulling tight across the skull. The driver's door was locked. I tried my door on the other truck, the one I'd arrived in. It opened. The cab was empty. I climbed in, locked the door behind me, breathing hard, panic rising in my chest like floodwater. This wasn't happening. Couldn't be happening. I was having a breakdown, a hallucination, some kind of mental crisis brought on by exhaustion and isolation. That was the only explanation. My phone rang. I grabbed it. Caller ID. Home. I answered, hello? Tommy? My wife's voice, thick with tears. Tommy, where are you? The police are asking so many questions and I don't know what to tell them. Just come home. Please come home. Sarah, I'm at a rest stop on I-20. I'm okay. I'm right here. You're not okay. You've been gone for 3 weeks. Your truck is still missing. You're still missing. Where are you, really? I'm at mile marker 118. I pulled in tonight to sleep. I'm right here. Mile marker 118 was the last place anyone saw you. The police searched it top to bottom. You're not there. Your truck's not there. Tommy, if you can hear me, if this is really you, you need to find a way to come back. The call ended. Dead air. I tried to call back. No signal. I looked out the windshield. The other truck, the one with my corpse, was closer. It had been 30 feet away. Now it was 15. I hadn't seen it move, but it was closer. I started the engine, pulled forward, made it 20 feet before I was standing outside again, this time next to the vending machines. There was a bottle of water in my hand, half empty, even though I hadn't bought one, hadn't been thirsty. The vending machine's glass front showed a reflection. Not my reflection. It showed the rest stop from a different angle, from above, as if from a security camera. I could see my truck, both of my trucks. I could see myself standing at the vending machines, and I could see others. The lot wasn't empty. There were dozens of vehicles now, all appearing in the reflection but not present when I turned to look directly. Trucks, cars, RVs, motorcycles, all parked. All with figures inside, some slumped like corpses, others sitting upright, staring forward. One of the trucks was a Peterbilt I recognized. Belonged to a driver named Carl Mitchell, an old-timer who'd run these routes in the 90s. Carl had disappeared in 1997. They'd found his truck 3 months later in a ravine, no sign of Carl. But in the reflection, Carl's truck was here, and Carl was visible in the driver's seat, looking out his window, looking directly at me. He raised his hand, pressed it against the glass, held up 5 fingers, then 3, then 1, a number, a code, a marker. No, not 5:31. The time, 5:31. The time I'd die, the time I was supposed to die, if the loop continued, if I couldn't escape. 5:31 a.m., 6 hours and 8 minutes from now, I ran, sprinted to my truck, the one without the corpse, yanked the door open, threw myself inside, locked it, turned the key. The engine roared to life. I slammed it into drive, punched the accelerator. The Mack lunged forward, tires squealing. I was leaving. Finally leaving. The exit back to I-20 was 50 feet ahead, clearly marked, well lit. I reached it, passed through the opening, and I was pulling into the rest stop, my truck backing into a parking space, reverse alarm beeping. I watched my hands on the wheel, steering backward, though I was trying to go forward. The truck parked itself. The engine shut off on its own. I was back where I started, except now there were 3 of my trucks. The original, the one with the corpse, and a third parked at a different angle, driver's seat empty but blood on the windshield from the inside, as if someone had smashed their head against the glass repeatedly. The motion lights were clicking on and off in sequence now, creating a strobe effect. In the flashing light, I could see the other vehicles becoming visible in the physical lot, no longer just in the reflection. A timeline of disappearances manifesting. Decades of missing travelers, all trapped here, all parked at this rest stop forever. And they were getting out of their vehicles. Doors opening, figures emerging, not walking, glitching into new positions, moving in stutters and jumps. all of them converging on my location. Carl Mitchell was closest. He looked the same as his missing person photos, except his eyes were wrong, too wide, never blinking. "You have to die here," he said, his voice distant, echoing. "We all died here. That's the constant. That's what this place is. The rest stop where travelers die." "I'm not dead," I said. "I'm alive. I'm right here." "You're alive in multiple timelines," Carl said. And now there were others behind him, dozens of them. "But in the consensus timeline, the one that matters, you disappeared October 31st at 11:23 p.m. You're dead in that timeline. This is just the echo. The version that got trapped when you pulled in. You're experiencing all the ways you could have died here simultaneously." The corpse version of me was out of its truck now, walking toward me with mechanical puppet-like movements. Its jaw hung loose, dislocated. Its eyes were gone, just empty sockets. "You died in your sleep," it said in my voice, but filtered through a throat full of decay. "Carbon monoxide leak, asphyxiation happened at 5:31 a.m. while you were dreaming." Another me emerged from the truck with the blood-smeared windshield. This one's head was caved in, skull fractured, brain visible. "You died from head trauma," it said. "Sleepwalking. Smashed your head against the windshield during a nightmare. Happened at 5:31 a.m. A third me appeared, seemingly from nowhere. This one was burned, skin blackened and cracking. "You died in a fire. Electrical short in the sleeper berth. Burned alive. Happened at 5:31 a.m. They kept coming. Every possible death that could occur in a rest stop. Every version of Thomas Whitmore that ended here. Heart attack, stroke, murdered by another traveler, bitten by a rabid animal from the pet area, choking on food, falling and breaking his neck, freezing to death when the heater failed, all of them happening simultaneously, all of them true and different collapsed possibilities." "Which one am I?" I screamed. "Which death is real?" "All of them," Carl said. "None of them. The rest stop exists in superposition. Every traveler who stops here experiences every possible outcome at once. Usually they collapse into one timeline and continue on. But sometimes, when the circumstances are right, when the traveler is isolated enough, tired enough, vulnerable enough, they get trapped. They experience all outcomes forever, dying in infinite variations, never able to leave." My phone buzzed. Text from my wife. "They found your truck empty. You weren't in it. Where are you?" I tried to text back. My fingers wouldn't work. I looked down. My hands were changing, shifting between different states. Frostbitten, burned, bruised, intact. Cycling through the injuries from each death scenario. 5:31 a.m. is the anchor point, Carl said. The moment when all your death timelines converge. When that time arrives, you'll solidify into one outcome, one death, and you'll join us permanently. A ghost in the rest stop. Another missing traveler with no explanation. I checked the clock. 4:17 a.m., 1 hour and 14 minutes until 5:31. "How do I stop it?" I asked. "You can't," Carl said. "You already died, multiple times. This is just the dream you're having in the moments before consciousness ends, the brain's last desperate attempt to find a way out." "Fuck that," I said. "I'm not dead. I'm here. I'm conscious. I'm leaving." I got back in my truck, started it again. But this time I didn't try to drive forward. I put it in park, turned on every light, headlights, cabin lights, flashers. Made the truck as visible as possible. Then I laid on the horn. Constant blaring sound that echoed across the empty lot. If this was a real place, someone would hear. Someone would investigate. I held the horn for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The dead travelers watched me, impassive. Then headlights. A vehicle pulling into the rest stop. A Louisiana State Police cruiser. The officer got out, hand on his weapon, approaching cautiously. He couldn't see the other vehicles, the other travelers. To him it was just me, alone in my truck, laying on the horn in the middle of the night. "Sir," Is everything all right? He called out. I opened the door, stumbled out. I need help. I've been trapped here. I can't leave. Every time I try to leave, I end up back here. The officer's expression shifted from concern to suspicion. Have you been drinking, sir? No, I'm sober. Something's wrong with this place. Check your watch. What time is it? He looked at his watch. 4:44 a.m. Not 11:23 p.m., real time, current time. How long have I been here? I asked. I just pulled in, sir. I'm doing my rounds, checking rest stops. Your truck was the only one here. Only one? But there are... I turned to point at the other vehicles. They were gone. All of them, including the two other versions of my truck, just mine, alone in the lot. Sir, I'm going to need you to step over here. I want to make sure you're okay to drive. He ran me through a field sobriety test. I passed. He checked my logbook, my credentials, everything in order. Told me I was fine to continue on my route. Advised me to get some rest if I was feeling disoriented. The officer left. His taillights disappeared back onto I-20. I stood in the empty lot. The clock on my phone read 4:51 a.m., 40 minutes until 5:31. I got in my truck and I drove. Pulled out of the rest stop, merged onto I-20, accelerated to 70. Past mile marker 119, then a 120, then a 121. I was leaving. The rest stop was behind me. I was escaping. My phone rang. I answered without checking the ID. Tommy, my own voice. You're not out. You're still in the loop. The officer was part of it. Look at your odometer. I looked. It read the same mileage as when I'd pulled into the rest stop. Despite driving for 5 minutes, despite passing multiple mile markers, the odometer hadn't changed. 5:31 is coming, my voice said. When it does, you'll pick a death. Your consciousness will collapse into one timeline, and you'll be gone, really gone. No more loops, no more chances. How do I stop it? You don't. You accept it. Pick the death. Make it deliberate. Take control of the collapse. The clock hit 5:31 a.m. Everything stopped. The engine died. The lights went out. The world went silent. I was suspended in absolute darkness, in absolute stillness, in the moment between heartbeats that stretches into eternity. And I felt them all, every death, every possibility, every timeline, felt myself dying in 100 different ways simultaneously. Felt my consciousness fragmenting, scattering across the probability space. I had to choose, had to collapse the wave function, had to pick one. I chose, I'm still choosing. Because I'm still here, in the rest stop at mile marker 118 at 11:23 p.m. And it's also 5:31 a.m. Both are true. I'm driving away and I'm parked and I'm dead and I'm alive. If you're ever on I-20 outside Monroe, Louisiana, if you pull into the rest stop at mile marker 118, if you see a blue Mac Anthem parked alone, check the cab, I might be in there. All versions of me superimposed, flickering between states, still trying to leave, still dying, still choosing. Forever at 5:31 a.m., forever at 11:23 p.m., forever story 6. The weight. The load sensor on my trailer had been reading 44,000 pounds since Albuquerque, but when I'd hooked up in Denver, the manifest said 12,000. Something in the cargo was getting heavier, and when I opened the trailer at a weigh station outside Flagstaff, there was nothing inside except a single cardboard box the size of a shoebox, sitting in the center of the empty 53-foot trailer. The box was growing. My name is Jennifer Hartley, 53 years old, independent owner-operator running Western Routes, 26 years behind the wheel. I picked up the load January 18, 2024 at a warehouse in Denver. Specialty delivery, the broker said. High-value item requires temperature control and gentle handling. Destination: a research facility outside San Diego. Pay was 3 times normal rate, enough to make me overlook the weird vibes I got from the pickup location. The warehouse was in an industrial area off the normal freight routes. No signage on the building. The loading crew wore full hazmat suits and they wouldn't let me see what they were loading. Backed my Peterbilt 389 up to the dock. They spent 15 minutes inside the trailer, then closed it up and sealed it with a lock that had a biometric scanner instead of a key. "Do not open this trailer for any reason," the foreman said, his voice muffled through the hazmat mask. "Do not stop except for fuel. Do not deviate from the route. If anything feels unusual, call this number immediately." He handed me a card with a phone number, no other text. "What am I hauling?" I asked. "Experimental material, that's all you need to know." The manifest listed it as laboratory equipment. Weight, 12,000 pounds. I'd hauled weirder things with fewer explanations, so I signed, took the load, and headed out. The weight gains started gradual. By Colorado Springs, the load sensor read 14,000. Not unusual, sensors can drift, especially with temperature changes. By Albuquerque, it was 22,000. Weird, but maybe a calibration issue. By Gallup, New Mexico, it hit 38,000 pounds. That's when I started to worry. At 44,000 pounds, somewhere on I-40 near the Arizona border, I pulled into a weigh station. Required by law if your weight exceeds 40,000. The scale confirmed it. Gross vehicle weight 64,000 pounds. My truck and trailer weighed 20,000 empty. The cargo had gained 32,000 pounds since Denver. The scale operator called me inside. "Ma'am, your manifest says 12,000. You're over by 32. I need you to open the trailer for inspection." "It's sealed," I said. "Biometric lock. I can't open it." He looked at me like I was trying to pull something. "Either you open it, or we impound the truck pending investigation." I called the number on the card. It rang 18 times before someone picked up. No greeting, just, "Report." "The cargo's gaining weight," I said. "I'm at a weigh station. They want to inspect the trailer." Silence. Then, "Open it." "The lock requires—" "Open it. The seal is disengaged. You're authorized." The call ended. I walked back to my trailer, the scale operator following. The biometric lock's screen was dark, inactive. I pulled on the handle. It opened easily. The doors swung wide, revealing the empty trailer. Completely empty except for that single cardboard box sitting in the exact center, 50 feet from the doors. It was maybe 12 inches on each side, wrapped in brown packing paper, no labels or markings. "That's your load?" the scale operator said. "That little box? That's what they loaded in Denver." He walked up the ramp into the trailer, approached the box, bent down to pick it up. He grabbed it with both hands, tried to lift. Strained. His face went red. He couldn't move it even an inch. "What the hell is in this thing?" he grunted, giving up. "Feels like it's bolted to the floor." I climbed in, walked over to the box, reached down to touch it. The cardboard was warm, and it was vibrating slightly, a low-frequency hum I could feel through my fingertips. "Don't touch it for long," a voice said behind me. I spun around. A man in a hazmat suit was standing at the trailer entrance. He'd appeared silently, impossibly fast. "Prolonged contact initiates bonding." "Who are you?" I demanded. "Retrieval," he said. "You called the number. We came. The cargo has entered active phase ahead of schedule. We need to complete transport immediately." "What is it? What's in the box?" "Mass," he said simply. "Concentrated mass. Extracted and compressed. It's osmotic. It pulls matter from the surrounding environment and integrates it. That's why it's gaining weight. It's eating reality, converting space into substance." I stepped back from the box. "You loaded this into my trailer without telling me?" "Would you have transported it if we told you?" "Fuck no." "Exactly, but now it's active and we need to move it to the containment facility before it grows too large to transport. If it reaches critical mass, approximately 100,000 pounds, it will create a gravitational anomaly. At that point, it becomes stationary, permanently. The box was bigger now. Not much, maybe 13 inches instead of 12, but definitely bigger. And the trailer floor beneath it was starting to warp, metal bending downward under the weight. "How fast is it growing?" I asked. "Exponentially. It was gaining mass slowly while dormant. Now that it's active, the rate increases. Current projections, you have 6 hours to reach the facility. After that, the weight will exceed your vehicle's capacity." "Then get it off my truck." "Can't. Once it's loaded and sealed in a trailer, moving it to another container accelerates the growth. Your trailer is already bonded to it. The mass is using your truck as an anchor point. We complete the transport or we lose containment here, and this way station becomes the center of a localized gravitational collapse." The scale operator, who'd been listening in stunned silence, backed away slowly. "I'm calling the state police." "Do that," the hazmat man said, "and you'll be explaining to them why there's a singularity forming under I-40. This is above your clearance level. Above mine, frankly. We just transport and contain. So, Ms. Hartley, I need you to close these doors, get back on the road, and drive. Fast." He left, just turned and walked away, disappearing into a black SUV that I hadn't noticed arriving. It drove off before I could get the license plate. The scale operator was on his phone, but when he tried to dial, the call wouldn't connect. He stared at his screen. No signal. I had full bars a second ago. "Let me go," I said. "Let me take this thing out of here before something worse happens." He looked at the box, at the warped floor, at his dead phone. "You've got 60 seconds to get off my station." I closed the trailer doors. The lock engaged automatically. Back in my cab, I started the engine, pulled out. The weight was noticeable now. I could feel the trailer dragging, the suspension sagging. My truck was rated for 80,000 pounds gross weight. I was at 64,000 and climbing. I-40 west toward Flagstaff, then south on I-17 to Phoenix, then west on I-10 to San Diego. 480 miles. 6 hours if I pushed the speed limit. 6 hours while the cargo gained weight at an exponential rate. By Flagstaff, the sensor read 68,000 pounds. My truck was struggling, engine laboring on even slight grades. I could hear the trailer axles groaning. Suspension bottomed out. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Ms. Hartley, this is Dr. Sarah Venn from the facility. I'm monitoring your cargo remotely. Current mass is indicating stage 3 growth. You need to maintain 55 miles per hour minimum. If you drop below that, the growth rate increases." "How does speed affect it?" "It's complicated. The mass is partially quantum in nature. Relative velocity affects its probability field. Stay above 55 and you keep it in a semi-stable state. What happens if I go faster? Don't. Above 70, it becomes unstable in the other direction. Starts to sublimate. We lose containment differently, but just as catastrophically. So I had a 15 mile per hour window, 55 to 70. Any slower or faster and something terrible happened. I-17 south. The highway dropped in elevation from Flagstaff toward Phoenix, steep grades. Normally I'd use the Jake brake, keep it slow and controlled. But slow meant death. I rode the edge 68 miles per hour down a 6% grade with 70,000 pounds behind me and climbing. The trailer axles were screaming. I could smell burning brake pads, overheated wheel bearings. The truck was shaking, oscillating at a frequency that made my teeth rattle. And the box was growing faster. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. The weight distribution was shifting, the center of mass moving lower, pulling the trailer down. The fifth wheel connection, the pivot point between truck and trailer, was groaning under stress it wasn't designed for. By Black Canyon City, halfway to Phoenix, the sensor read 81,000 pounds. Over legal weight, over safe weight. If I hit a way station now, they'd impound me for sure, and according to the hazmat man, that meant everyone at the station would die. Dr. Venn called again. "You're doing well, keep going. 3 more hours." "I'm at 81,000, my truck can't handle much more." "It doesn't have to. We've got a retrieval team mobilizing. They'll meet you at the facility and offload using specialized equipment. Just get there." "What is this thing really? What did you people make?" Silence. Then, "We didn't make it, we found it, or it found us. 15 years ago, a meteorite landed in northern Canada. When we excavated it, we found this, a small amount of matter with impossible density. We've been studying it ever since, trying to understand it, trying to contain it. This was supposed to be a routine transfer." "Routine?" "It's been dormant for a decade. We thought we understood its behavior. We were wrong." "Phoenix, I bypassed the city, took the Loop 202 around the metro area. 63 miles per hour with 94,000 pounds. My trailer was riding on the axle stops, suspension completely compressed. Every bump was transmitted directly to the frame. I could hear bolts shearing, metal cracking, and I could feel the box now, even from the cab. A pull, like gravity, but directional. It was tugging at me, at the truck, at everything. Objects in my cab were sliding toward the back, toward the trailer. My phone, my water bottle, papers from my logbook, all creeping slowly rearward. Dr. Venn, I can feel it pulling, like magnetism. That's the gravitational field. It's strong enough now to affect nearby matter. Don't let anything get close to the trailer. The field strength increases exponentially with proximity. I-10 West, the final stretch, 200 miles to San Diego. But I was at 97,000 pounds and climbing 1,000 pounds every 10 minutes. At this rate, I'd hit 100,000 critical mass in 30 minutes, 90 miles short of the facility. "I'm not going to make it," I said. "You have to. If it goes critical on the highway, it'll create a gravitational well. Everything within a quarter-mile radius gets pulled in. Cars, trucks, people. All crushed into the singularity." "Then stop it. Shut it down." "We can't. There's no off switch. Once it's active, it runs its course. Either it reaches the containment facility and we suppress it with the field generators, or it collapses into a permanent gravity well." My truck was barely doing 50 now, struggling against the weight. I had the accelerator floored. The engine temperature was redlining, and I was sinking below the 55 threshold. The moment I dropped to 49 miles per hour, the growth rate spiked. 1,000 pounds in 30 seconds. Another 1,000. The sensor hit 100,000 pounds. The road behind me crumpled. I saw it in my mirrors. Asphalt tearing upward, chunks of highway ripping free and flying backward toward my trailer. The gravitational field had gone active, pulling matter in. A car that had been following me, a Honda, family inside, lifted off the road. The driver was fighting the wheel, but physics didn't care. The car flew backward, dragged into the air, tumbling toward my trailer. I swerved, trying to get the trailer out of alignment, trying to give them a chance. The Honda shot past my trailer, missing by feet, and slammed into the median barrier. It crumpled but stayed there, held by the barrier, just outside the gravitational field's range. "You're at critical mass," Dr. Venn said, her voice tight with panic. "The field will expand. You need to unhook the trailer, disconnect and drive away." "If I unhook, what happens?" "The trailer and cargo become stationary. The gravity well stabilizes at that location. We'll have to contain it in place." "You mean I-10 gets a permanent black hole?" "A gravity well, not a black hole. But yes, that section of highway becomes unusable. Permanently." I looked at the GPS. I was near Gila Bend, middle of nowhere, desert on both sides. If I disconnected here, the well would form in a relatively empty area. Minimal casualties. But if I kept going, tried to reach the facility and lost control before getting there. Phoenix was nearby, Millions of people. Tell me how to disconnect while moving, I said. You can't. You have to stop. If I stop, I drop below 55. The 55 rule only applies while the mass is growing. At critical mass, it's stable. Stopping won't accelerate it. I hit the brakes. The truck slowed, fighting against its own weight. 50, 40, 30. I felt the fifth wheel release lever, preparing to pull it. The trailer was shaking now, vibrating so hard it blurred in my mirrors. 20 miles per hour. I pulled the release lever, disconnecting the airlines and electrical. Pulled the fifth wheel pin release. Felt the trailer separate. I accelerated. The truck lunged forward, suddenly free of the massive weight. In my mirrors, I watched the trailer slow, the axles digging into the asphalt, tires exploding under the load. It ground to a stop in the middle of I-10. And the gravity well expanded, visible now, a distortion in space, a warping of light around the trailer. The road surface was tearing up, chunks of asphalt and concrete spiraling inward. The guardrails bent, twisted, snapped free, and flew toward the trailer. A road sign ripped from its post, tumbled through the air into the growing field. I drove, got a mile away, pulled onto the shoulder, looked back. The trailer was gone. In its place was a sphere of compressed matter, maybe 10 feet in diameter, floating 3 feet off the ground. The asphalt beneath it had been scoured away, leaving bare earth, and everything within 100 yards was being pulled toward it, slowly, inexorably. Dr. Ven's voice. Containment team is en route. They'll suppress the field and transport the mass to the facility. You did the right thing. Did I? I just left a fucking singularity on I-10. You saved Phoenix. If you'd kept going and lost control near the city. She didn't finish. Didn't need to. I sat on the shoulder for 2 hours watching the containment team arrive. Black trucks, specialized equipment, people in suits carrying devices that made the air shimmer. They set up a perimeter, deployed something that looked like a Tesla coil, and the gravity well stopped. The pull ceased. The sphere of compressed mass settled to the ground, inert. They loaded it onto a specialized trailer, a massive thing with 20 axles built to distribute impossible weight. Hauled it away. The highway was destroyed, a quarter-mile section just gone, eroded down to bedrock by the gravitational field. ADOT would spend months figuring out how to explain it. I never got paid for the delivery. The broker disappeared. The number on the card was disconnected. Dr. Ven stopped answering my calls, but I kept the load sensor from my trailer, the one that read the weight. After the trailer was destroyed, they let me retrieve a few personal items. The sensor was intact, still functional. It still reads 100,000 pounds, even though there's nothing connected to it, even though it's sitting on my workbench at home, not attached to any trailer, not measuring anything. It still reads 100,000 pounds. Because somewhere in its memory and its circuits it remembers the mass, remembers the thing that pulled reality inward, the box that grew without limit. And sometimes, late at night, I feel it, a pull, a tug toward the west, toward San Diego, toward wherever they took that thing, like it remembers me too, like it's still growing, like it wants to finish the journey we started, and one day, I know I'll get a call, another load, another sealed trailer, another desperate voice telling me to drive fast and not ask questions, and I'll probably take it. Because that's what we do. We haul the weight, even when it's impossible, even when it shouldn't exist. We haul it anyway. Story 7. The Tunnel. The tunnel on Route 47 was 3 miles long, and I'd been driving through it for 47 minutes. The GPS said I'd covered 312 miles inside those 3 miles. My fuel gauge had dropped from full to a quarter tank, and every time I looked in my side mirror, I saw my truck getting farther behind me, receding into the distance even though I was inside it, driving it. watching myself disappear into the vanishing point of the tunnel that had no end. My name is Kevin Torres, 29 years old, relatively new to trucking, only 5 years in, running regional routes through Nevada and Utah, hauling construction equipment. May 2nd, 2024, I was on Route 47, a rarely used state highway cutting through the mountains between Ely and Delta. The tunnel was on my GPS, the Silver Creek Tunnel, completed in 1962, 3.2 miles long, no cell service inside. I entered at 3:14 p.m. Mountain Time, standard tunnel, single lane each direction, orange sodium lights every 50 feet, ventilation fans humming. My radio cut to static as I went in. Normal. No cell signal. Normal. Just me, the road, and 3 miles of mountain overhead, except I should have exited at 3:19 p.m. 5 minutes at 60 miles per hour equals 3 miles. Basic math. At 3:19, I was still inside. Walls streaming past, lights flashing by in rhythm, no exit visible ahead. I checked the odometer. I'd traveled 3.1 miles since entering. Almost there. At 3:24, odometer read 6.3 miles, twice the tunnel's length, still inside. At 3:31, 12 miles, still inside. The tunnel wasn't getting longer. That would be impossible. I was just not reaching the end. Like a treadmill. Like driving in place while the distance accumulated but the destination never arrived. I slowed down. 50 miles per hour, 40, 30. The tunnel walls seemed to slow with me, but the lights kept their rhythm. I counted them, 50 feet apart, one every few seconds. But when I multiplied out the math, time spent driving, lights passed, the numbers didn't work. I should have seen thousands of lights. I'd only seen maybe 300. At 3:47, 33 minutes and counting, I stopped. Full stop. Put the truck in park. Turned off the engine. Silence. Complete silence. The ventilation fans had stopped. No air movement, no ambient noise, just me and my cab, the sodium lights casting everything in sick orange. I got out. My boots hit pavement that felt wrong, too soft, too yielding. The tunnel walls were concrete, standard construction, but when I touched them, they were warm and wet. Not dripping water, wet like skin, like the tunnel was sweating. I walked forward, leaving my truck behind. Walked 100 feet, looked back. My Freightliner was tiny in the distance, impossibly far away for 100 feet. I walked another 100 feet, looked back. Couldn't see the truck at all. The tunnel behind me faded into darkness, the lights extinguished beyond a certain point. I walked forward faster. The exit had to be close. Had to be. Walked until I was running, boots pounding on the soft pavement. Ran for 5 minutes straight, breathing hard, chest burning. Looked back. My truck was directly behind me. Right there, 30 feet away, exactly where I'd parked it. I'd run half a mile at least. The truck should have been far behind, but it had moved with me, or I'd moved with it, or neither of us had moved at all. I heard a sound, distant, echoing, like metal scraping on concrete, coming from ahead, deeper in the tunnel. "Hello?" I called out. My voice sounded flat, absorbed by the walls, no echo. The scraping grew louder, rhythmic, dragging, something being pulled along the pavement. A figure emerged from the darkness ahead, humanoid, walking, dragging something behind it, a length of chain maybe, or a metal rod. Hard to see in the orange light. As it got closer, I saw it more clearly. It was a man. Middle-aged, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. He was dragging a truck tire, pulling it by the rubber, the metal rim scraping on the pavement. "Hey," I called. "You know the way out?" He stopped. Looked at me. His face was wrong. Not deformed, but wrong. Like someone had taken a photograph of a face and stretched it slightly. Pulled the features a millimeter in every direction. Mouth too wide, eyes too far apart, nose too long. "Out?" he said. His voice had the same flatness as mine, no echo. "There's no out, just farther in." I've been driving for 40 minutes. The tunnel's only 3 miles. 3 miles in your direction, he said. Infinite in mine. He gestured behind him into the darkness ahead. I've been walking that way for 6 years, started May 2nd, 2018, haven't found the end. 6 years. Impossible. No one could survive 6 years in a tunnel. No food, no water, no... You don't need food here, he said, reading my expression. You don't need water. You don't need sleep. You just keep going, keep trying to reach the end. But the end isn't a place. It's a state, and you don't reach it by traveling. You reach it by understanding. Understanding what? Why you're here. I shook my head. I'm here because I'm driving Route 47. I entered the tunnel. I got stuck or something. GPS glitch, some kind of anomaly. You're here because you're between, he said. Between where you were and where you're going. Between who you were and who you'll be. The tunnel is the in-between. Most people pass through in minutes because they're certain. They know where they're going. But you're uncertain. And uncertainty makes the tunnel longer. I'm certain. I'm going to Delta. Delivery scheduled for 6 p.m. No. You're uncertain about the drive, but you're uncertain about something deeper. Why did you become a trucker, Kevin? I didn't remember telling him my name. I needed work, I said. Needed money. That's the surface reason. Why, really? I felt the answer rising from somewhere I didn't like looking. Because I wanted to be alone. Wanted distance from people, from my family, from expectations. And have you found what you're looking for? In 5 years of driving, have you found it? I didn't answer. Because the answer was no. I was more isolated, more disconnected, more in between than ever. The tunnel reflects that, he said. You're stuck because you're already stuck. This is just making it visible. That's not real. That's psychological bullshit. This is a physical place. Is it? He gestured around. Look closely. I looked. The tunnel walls were breathing, not metaphorically, actually moving, expanding and contracting in slow rhythm. And the lights weren't bulbs. They were holes. Gaps in the wall that let through orange light from somewhere else. Somewhere behind the walls. What is this place really? I whispered. It's the space between decisions, he said. The moment when you're traveling toward a choice but haven't made it yet. Most people make choices quickly, so the moment is brief. But when you're stuck, when you're perpetually in motion without direction, the moment expands, becomes a place, becomes this. The scraping sound was back, but it wasn't coming from his tire. It was coming from everywhere, from the walls, from behind me, from inside my truck. I ran back to the Freightliner, climbed in, slammed the door, started the engine. It caught, then died. Tried again. Same. Third time it started but sounded wrong, labored, grinding. I put it in drive. Accelerated. The tunnel streamed past. I watched the odometer, 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, and I saw them now. Others. People standing along the tunnel walls watching me pass. Men and women in various states. Some fresh, confused, recently trapped. Others degraded, stretched-looking. Faces elongated, bodies thinned out like taffy. All of them stuck in the between. A woman in a business suit holding a briefcase, staring straight ahead. A teenager in a hoodie sitting on the pavement. An elderly man standing with his hands pressed against the wall, feeling for a door that didn't exist. How many people were trapped here? How long had this tunnel been collecting the uncertain, the in-between, the ones who drove into it without knowing where they were really going? My fuel gauge hit empty. The engine sputtered, died. The truck rolled to a stop. I sat in the silent cab, sodium lights washing everything orange. I'd run out of fuel, run out of forward momentum, run out of denial. The first man, the one with the tire, appeared outside my window. You'll walk now, he said. Like the rest of us, walk until you decide. Decide what? where you're going. Really going? Not the delivery address, not the destination on your GPS. Where you're going with your life, what you're moving toward, what you're running from. When you're certain the tunnel ends, you emerge. But until then, he gestured down the infinite tunnel, at the figures standing in the darkness, at the breathing walls and the holes of light. Until then, you're here, with us, in the between. I got out of the truck, started walking. What else could I do? I've been walking for, I don't know how long. Time doesn't work here. Could be hours, could be weeks. I've passed hundreds of people. Some try to talk to me, most just stare. Everyone dragging something, literal baggage, suitcases, chains, tires, pieces of their vehicles, physical manifestations of whatever keeps them uncertain. I'm dragging my steering wheel. I pulled it off the Freightliner before I left. Don't know why, but it feels important, like I need to carry it until I know where I'm steering toward. Sometimes I see light ahead, bright white light, not orange. I think it's the exit. I run toward it, but I never get closer. It stays the same distance away no matter how long I run. Other times I see the entrance behind me. Daylight, real daylight, and the world outside the tunnel. I run toward it, but same thing, never get closer. I'm trapped at a fixed point in space while distance scrolls past me, or I'm moving through infinite space that somehow stays the same. I can't tell anymore. The only thing I know is I'm here until I decide, until I figure out what I'm really doing with my life, where I'm really going, what I actually want instead of just driving away from what I don't want. If you're reading this, if somehow my thoughts are broadcasting out of the tunnel, and I think they are, I think that's what the tunnel does. It takes the internal and makes it external. Then learn from me. Don't drive uncertain. Don't get in your vehicle without knowing where you're really headed, because the roads know. The roads can tell. And if you're too in between, too stuck in the space between decisions, the roads will pull you into a place where the metaphor becomes real, where the journey becomes infinite, where the tunnel never ends. I'm still walking, still carrying my steering wheel, still looking for certainty. And I can see you now, coming in the other direction. New travelers entering the tunnel from the far end, walking toward me through the orange light. One of them looks like you, which means you're uncertain too, which means you're already here. Welcome to the between. Welcome to the tunnel. It's good to have company, even if we're all alone. Story 8. The Depot. The dispatch location didn't exist on any map, but I'd been delivering there weekly for 8 months, and every time I left, I remembered less about what happened inside. April 7th, 2024, I arrived at the depot for my regular Thursday drop-off and realized I couldn't remember any of the previous visits. Not the facility layout, not the personnel, not even what I'd been delivering. Just that I'd been going there, every Thursday, for 8 months. And now, parked outside the unmarked gate, I finally understood I'd been forgetting deliberately. My name is Raymond Acosta, 44 years old, 20 years in trucking. I ran a dedicated route for Thermaline Logistics, same run every week, Chicago to various facilities in the Midwest. Good pay, consistent work, union benefits. One of the stops was listed as Depot 7 on my manifest. Location, coordinates only, no street address. Deep in rural Illinois, farm country, miles from anything. The first time I'd gotten the assignment, apparently 8 months ago, though I had no memory of it. The dispatcher had given me special instructions. Arrive between 11 p.m. and midnight. Don't be early, don't be late. Follow the access road to the gate. Wait for clearance. Drive in, back up to the marked dock, someone will unload. Don't get out of your truck. Don't ask questions. You'll be out in 20 minutes. I must have followed those instructions 34 times, once per week, 34 weeks. But I remembered none of it. My logbook showed the stops. The pay stubs confirmed the deliveries. but the memories were gone. Until tonight. Tonight something broke. Some mechanism that had been suppressing memory failed. And as I sat at the gate waiting for clearance, images flooded back. Fragmentary, disjointed, but there. Walking through the depot, though I'd been told not to leave my truck. Seeing things in the warehouse, containers with no seams, equipment that hurt to look at directly, people in uniforms with patches showing symbols that my eyes wouldn't focus on. And the cargo. My cargo. What I'd been delivering. It was me. Every week I delivered myself. The gate opened. A voice on the intercom, no human inflection, pure monotone. Proceed to Dock 7, prepare for unloading. I drove in, hands shaking. The facility looked like any industrial warehouse. Corrugated metal walls, loading docks, security lights. But wrong. The proportions were off. The building looked 3 stories tall from outside, but the interior stretched upward into darkness. Too high, too vast. And there were no windows, no markings, no company logos. I backed up to Dock 7 exactly as I'd done 34 times before, put the truck in park, and this time I got out. "Driver, remain in your vehicle," the intercom voice said. I ignored it, walked around to the trailer, opened the doors. Inside, 34 crates, identical wooden crates, each maybe 6 feet long, 2 feet wide, 2 feet deep. Like coffins. Each labeled with a date, Thursdays going back 8 months. And each one was breathing, not loud, not obvious. But the wood was flexing slightly, rhythmically, something inside, alive, respiring. I grabbed a crowbar from my truck, pried open the nearest crate, the one dated today, April 7th. Inside, myself, Raymond Acosta, exact duplicate, unconscious, eyes closed, wearing the same clothes I was wearing. Perfect copy down to the scar on my forearm from a motorcycle accident in my 20s. "Driver, step away from the cargo." I opened another crate, another me. This one dated March 31st, 1 week ago. Also unconscious, but slightly different, beard length shorter, hair a bit longer, me as I'd been a week ago. I pried open a third, March 24th, 2 weeks ago, another me. "Driver, you are in violation of protocol. Security is responding." I heard footsteps, multiple sets, coming from inside the warehouse. I ran back to my cab, climbed in, locked the doors. Figures emerged from the warehouse, human-shaped but moving wrong, joints bending in extra directions, speed too fast for normal humans. They surrounded my truck. One of them approached the driver's window. It was me, Raymond Acosta, but off. Eyes too reflective, smile too wide. "You weren't supposed to remember," it said. "The memory suppression should have lasted for the full year. Why did it fail?" "What are you?" I demanded. "I'm you. One of you. One of the 34 versions that have been unloaded and activated at this facility. You're the prime. The original. You make the deliveries. We are the deliveries." "That's not possible." "It's very possible. Your employer isn't Thermaline Logistics. That's a shell company. Your real employer is this facility. We've been copying you. Every week you drive in, we scan you, we create a duplicate, we load it into your trailer while you wait. And we install a memory suppression protocol so you don't remember the process. Then you drive away with your copy, delivering it back here the following week. By then, the copy has matured, stabilized. We unload it, activate it, and it joins the workforce. Workforce doing what? Whatever we need. You're ideal for it, Raymond. No close family, few friends, predictable routine. No one notices when there are multiple versions of you operating simultaneously. We've had you working 3 separate shifts at 3 separate locations using 3 separate identities, tripling our labor efficiency. I looked past the fake me at the warehouse. How many of me are in there? 34 versions currently active. You've been running this route for 34 weeks. Do the math. Why keep doing it? Why not just copy me once and stop? Degradation. Each copy has a lifespan of approximately 6 months before cellular breakdown. We need fresh copies to replace the expiring ones. You're the source, the prime. As long as we have you, we have an infinite supply of Raymond Acostas. I felt sick, violated. How many versions of me had lived and died without my knowledge? How many were out there right now thinking they were the real Raymond, living truncated lives in service of... What? What was this facility? What was its purpose? What happens to the expired copies? The fake me smiled wider. We've been putting them in your trailer, every week. You've been delivering yourself for disposal at secondary sites. You've been complicit in the removal of your own expired duplicates without knowing it. The crates, the ones I'd picked up at other facilities, delivered to industrial incinerators, chemical plants, places with furnaces and disposal systems. I'd been delivering dead versions of myself to be destroyed, carrying my own corpses. "Let me go," I said. "I won't tell anyone. I'll quit the route. Just let me go." "Can't. You're too valuable. The prime always is. We can't replicate the prime, only duplicate it. If you die, if you leave, the supply chain breaks. You'll continue making deliveries. The memory suppression will be reinforced. You won't remember this conversation. Again." "Again? You've remembered before 3 times. Each time we suppressed it again. Eventually, the suppression will be permanent. You'll forget you exist. You'll just drive." The fake me pulled something from its pocket. A device that looked like a stun gun, but the prongs glowed with light that wasn't light. Anti-light, darkness that pushed back against the photons around it. "This will hurt," it said. "But you won't remember the pain." It pressed the device against my window. The glass dissolved, not shattered, dissolved like it was made of sugar and water. The fake me reached through, touched my forehead. Everything stopped. I woke up on I-55, halfway back to Chicago, 4:47 a.m. My trailer was empty. I'd delivered at Depot 7 just like every Thursday. No memory of the stop. Just the confirmation on my manifest and the empty feeling in my head where 8 months of weekly visits should have been. Except this time I'd written a note. Found it in my pocket. My handwriting frantic and uneven. "They're making copies. Depot 7 is duplication facility. You are the prime. They keep erasing your memory. Every Thursday, don't go back, run." But I'd already gone back. The note was from a previous version of me, a previous remembering. I'd written it, then had my memory erased, then continued the route, then eventually remembered again and wrote another note. How many times had I done this? I checked my pockets, found 17 notes, all my handwriting, all saying versions of the same thing, warnings from previous iterations of memory, all failing to prevent the next delivery. Because I couldn't stop. If I didn't show up on Thursday, someone would investigate. The facility would take action. I was locked in, trapped by my own biology, my own suitability for duplication. I drove home, took the rest of the week off, told dispatch I was sick, spent the time researching. Thermaline Logistics existed on paper but had no physical offices, no employee records beyond drivers like me. Depot 7's coordinates led to agricultural land, technically owned by a shell company chain that disappeared into offshore registries. I hired a private investigator. He drove to the coordinates. Called me from the location. There's nothing here, just a field, no buildings, no roads, no gate. But I'd been there 34 times. Delivered myself, seen the duplicates, unless I hadn't. Unless the facility existed in some state that only manifested for me, for the prime, for the source. A pocket location that opened on Thursdays between 11 p.m. and midnight for the specific purpose of my arrival. Thursday came again. I didn't go. Stayed home, waited for consequences. At 11:47 p.m. someone knocked on my door. I opened it. I was standing there. Raymond Acosta, one of the duplicates. It looked tired, sick, skin too pale, eyes bloodshot. "You didn't deliver," it said. "I need the new copy. This body is failing. I'm not going back. Then I'll die. And so will the others. We're all degrading. We need fresh versions. You're killing us by not delivering yourself. You're not real. You're copies. You have 6-month lifespans. You're not supposed to exist." "We exist. We think. We feel. We have your memories, your personality, your sense of self. Are we less real because we originated from you? Are we less deserving of life?" I didn't have an answer. I closed the door, locked it, heard the duplicate outside coughing, collapsing, heard it die on my porch. By morning, the body was gone, no trace, like it had never been there. But I knew it had been. Just like I knew 33 others were out there, degrading, failing, dying because I'd stopped the supply chain. I'm writing this 2 months later, June 2024. I haven't made a delivery to Depot 7 since April. My route was reassigned. Thermalin Logistics stopped calling. But I still see them. My copies, in crowds and vehicles passing on the highway, and mirrors sometimes. They're still out there, the ones that haven't expired yet. Living my life in fragments. Working jobs I don't remember applying for. Interacting with people I don't know. And I wonder, am I the prime? Or am I one of the copies who thinks he's the prime? Am I the original Raymond Acosta, or am I version 12 or 23 implanted with memories of being the original? How would I know? How would I tell? I've started finding notes I don't remember writing. Warnings about facilities I don't remember visiting. Logs of deliveries I have no memory of making. Maybe the prime is still delivering. Every Thursday, 11 p.m. to midnight. And I'm just one of the copies who escaped, who remembered too much, who's living on borrowed time until my 6 months expire. Maybe I'm writing this as a warning to the next version. The next Raymond who wakes up confused, finding notes from previous iterations. Or maybe I'm the prime, and I'm losing my mind, and there are no copies, and Depot 7 is just a regular warehouse, and I've invented this whole nightmare to cope with the isolation of long-haul trucking. I don't know anymore. I just know that every Thursday at 11:47 p.m. I feel a pull, a compulsion to drive to coordinates that lead nowhere, to deliver cargo that might be myself, to feed a system that either exists or doesn't. And one of these Thursdays I know I'll go. I'll drive to Depot 7, I'll back up to the dock, and I'll finally find out which version of me I really am. The one delivering, or the one being delivered. 1.